know how to introduce you. You can just talk.
If I had to pick the biggest moment of impact on my life, it would have to be when I started working for Deshay. I would be upstairs doing hair and nails, and when I wouldn't have anything to do, I would come downstairs and listen to him talk about how to line people up and business aspects of the salon. And sometimes he'd be talking about God and Jesus. Now, I would feel something that I wanted to say, but then I would also try to make every excuse to leave. Pastor Posey would also come in and talk about God and Jesus and Church of the Harvest, and I was like, you know, I got a blunt in the car. I need to get out here. I need to smoke, you know. At that time, I didn't know I was being pulled both ways. I was battling for my soul.
Yeah.
So time went on, and I left the Shays. I didn't get my license. I failed the state board's test twice, and I had to go back to school for 100 hours, so I couldn't work there anymore. Started doing hair out of my house, legally, still smoking, still drinking, and I was lost. I was going through a bad time. My father had committed suicide. Being in an abusive relationship, I didn't know who to turn to, so I was turning to alcohol and weed. So time went on and made a whole lot of mistakes. I left my kids in the house for about 20-25 minutes, went around the corner to the store, and when I came back, I was arrested because my daughter had went next door and they called the police. I stayed in jail for about a week until I finally bonded myself out with the money I went in there with. I was on probation, also prior DUIs and driving unsuspended. Just wasn't working for me. So I finally got my kids back. Months went on, and I allowed a couple of friends to change a fuel pump in my garage. My house exploded and it burned down. Nothing was recovered. I was very materialistic. Had no insurance on my house, so I lost everything. The house was actually rebuilt, and I had to stay in a hotel room for about 8 months at the Home Life Suites. I was also working at Longhorn cooking, and I was just doing hair out of my house, still drinking and smoking. Didn't really know how to fix it. So I started thinking about this church. I was like, this seems like a good idea. So came back to Church of the Harvest. I honestly came hungover most of the Sundays I was here. I would always sit in the back, next to the wall, next to the door, so I could just ease my way out. And I didn't really favor how Pastor Posey would always talk about praying with people. You know, I would kind of go into my seat whenever he would ask for people to turn and pray for each other. And I never did altar calls. That was not anything I wanted to do, so I didn't want to stand by somebody long enough for them to smell the alcohol on me from the Saturday before. So I remember one time he had an altar call, and I didn't go up there. And then whenever he called everybody back to his seat, he was like, I want to pray for my friend back there. So I looked back behind me, and there's a wall. So I was like, he's talking to me. So I go up there, and I'm like, I don't know who to call on, but Jesus sounds like a good name right now. So I'm like, Jesus, please don't let these people get a contact from the weed that I just smoked. So I'm up here, and y'all just start praying for me. And for the first time in my life, I actually felt loved and welcomed in a place. So y'all were just praying for me, and I go back to my seat, and I go back to my life. So next couple days, I go to that side, because I'm like, he's not going to find me over here. So I go to that side, and he starts talking about a fast, and I'm like, okay, fast, I've never done this before. So it was a Daniel fast for 9 days. and something was leading me to not having food for 9 days. Now, if anybody knows me, they know I like to eat, and that I could put away some food. So this was very hard for me. Plus, I had to cook for my kids still, and I still had to work at Longhorn cooking for everybody else.
Okay.
So went through this, and so I had my water, I had my Gatorade, I had my V8 juice, and I had some protein shakes in case I, had to build up my stamina. So didn't have to use those, thank God. So every time I would just start praying, and I would be hungry, and I would just start praying and reading the Bible, and for some reason my headaches would go away. I wouldn't be hungry. I would get up. I would know what I need to do within that day, and I would just do it. So one day I came on First Friday, and Tina was here, and I was talking to her about what was going on, and she called Pastor Posey over, and they were like, "Why don't you give your life to Christ?" And I was like, wait a minute. I don't want to, I'm a mess. Like, I've been doing all this stuff. I don't want to give my life to something and then I mess up and do it again. And that's just like a smack in the face to God, But the way they were explaining it to me, they were saying, I realized you don't clean yourself up before you come to Christ.
Yes.
You come to Christ as you are, and He cleans you up. He revives you. So, a couple days later, I was baptized at Church of the Harvest. I was very, very happy as I left the church. I actually ran a red light. I was glad God saved me because I hurt. But I was very, very excited. The last day of my fast, I was at Longhorn, and they were introducing a new menu. And we had to taste test all the stuff there. And I was like, oh my God, you know how to do this. So just help me. But I got out of there early. I said, I have to leave right now. So got out of there early, and that night I just remember this dream I had where I was basically dying in the dream. And I didn't know what it meant, but it had me looking up at the sky, and I was just remember dying, and I was like, Jesus, just take care of my kids. And it turned to me seeing myself, and I could see myself just dying. And I was like asking people, I was like, have you ever had a dream that you died before?